Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. With a career spanning 6 decades, my guest is one of the world's leading theater poster designers. He has created the iconic designs for such shows as Sweeney Todd, Sunday in the Park with George, and Disney's The Lion King, to name just a few. And now he has partnered with Gelato, the world's fastest and greenest production platform for customized products, and together they have created a special online charity store called Broadway is Alive. And they are offering 16 previously unseen, rejected, or alternate poster designs by Fraver for some of Broadway's and American theater's most famous shows, with all the proceeds benefiting Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Please say hello to my dear friend, Frank Fraver Verlizzo.
Hey, Richie.
You look sensational. Frank, how are you and where are you?
So glamorous.
Oh, we try. It's all an illusion. Where are you and how are you?
I'm in Connecticut, the gorgeous Shelton, Connecticut, which is now where Joe and I live. And I'm fine. We're made it through this weird time, and hopefully we'll continue doing so.
That is wonderful. Like I said, I see your book behind you. I have it behind me.
I know. Thank you.
Well,
and
just
the Follies poster.
Well, I have both the Follies posters.
I see.
I have yours and I have David Bird's. So what I want to ask you is, first of all, congratulations on your latest project.
Thank you.
Which is offering prints of 16 of your previously unseen, rejected, or alternate poster designs, with all of the proceeds going to Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. How did this all come about?
It was sort of a brainstorm between a London PR firm called Deliberate PR, Benjamin Webb, put it together with Julie Ryland from Gelato, and you mentioned Gelato and their fabulous network of print on demand, which is pretty amazing. And they asked me if I'd be willing to do something involving my posters to benefit a charity. And why would I say no to that? So we came up with the idea of using the rejected or unpublished posters, since that seems to have been the most popular section of my book. People always ask me about that. So we thought maybe going a little further and printing the posters would be great. And that's my charity of choice was Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, of course, which I've been a fan of and a supporter of since the 80s. And Tom Viola is amazing. He's just tireless and incredible, and I can't say enough fabulous things. So the fact that I could do a little bit to help out during the pandemic is a pretty nice thing.
What a wonderful thing. And I realize that all the proceeds are going to Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. That's really wonderful because, of course, they couldn't do any of their real big fundraising this year. They couldn't go to the theaters to do and they couldn't do the Easter Bonnet or, the Red Bucket Follies or anything. And it's things like you're putting together that help them get money to help people. So it means a lot.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great cause. And I wish I could do more, but this at least is a start.
This is great. So I love the store is called Broadway is Alive. Anybody just go there. It's www.broadwayisalive.com. It's a fabulous website, and all your posters are there. These gorgeous prints. I mean, it's such an easy website to use. And like I said, all the proceeds are going to Broadway Cares.
And there are little backstage stories behind each poster. So as you click on the poster, you get a little bit more insight as to why it wasn't used or whatever the controversy was about it.
See, that's what I love about this. When you go to this website, Broadway is Alive, each individual poster you click on, Frank has told the whole story behind it of why it wasn't used. It might have been a rival ad agency or something else. Because I want to get into a few of your posters. The prints you are offering are stunning. And I'd like to highlight a few of them and just tell me what the concepts were behind them. The first one, of course, is Cabaret. What was your concept behind that?
Well, the idea behind it was, well, let me tell you how it started. The roundabout, I think Cabaret was now in its 7th year or something. It was some very, very long running. And they thought they might want to change their advertising image just to refresh it. So they asked a lot of designers to come up with ideas to do that. And this was my entry, which the concept of it is somebody sitting at the Kit Kat Club drawing Sally Bowles on a napkin because they're watching her perform. That's the basic idea. But I was very proud of it, and I thought for sure they would react really well. But ultimately, they decided not to change the image they had, which was probably smart. It's a fabulous image.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to purchase a lot of these because these are all your iconic shows. And I was like, oh my God, scribbling her with like an eyebrow pencil or like lipstick or something fascinating.
Right.
Let's talk about Dracula, the musical. That's beautiful too, with the blues and all.
Thank you. Thank you. That one I actually didn't even get to present. The reason I did it was I had worked on Jekyll and Hyde with Frank Wildhorn, and I love his work. And who doesn't love Dracula? I mean, everybody loves Dracula. And they hadn't chosen an agency yet. So I just dove right in and started to do my thing. But as it turned out, by the time they announced the agency, I had done something for it, but never got a chance to show it. But I thought, okay, whatever. But it's I do love the poster very much, and I'm glad people get to see it.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's Into the Woods, which I love. Now, let's talk about this because what this poster reminds me of is like a children's book when you used to see those beautiful black illustrations.
Sure. Silhouetted posters. Yep. The silhouetted illustrations. But actually, you're seeing a black and white. The one we're selling is a black and white version. I had actually later on done a full color version, but that's been lost. So I have no idea where it is. But at least I had the black and white version. But yes, it's the giant's hand shaking out all of the storybook characters, giving, like just blending them all together in the woods below. And I thought that was kind of a fun idea. And that poster was the bridesmaid for sure. It came very, very close between the one that they used, that Heidi Ettinger designed, and this one. That was my big disappointment. I would love, love, love to have done the Broadway poster for Into the Woods. But
see, what's great about what you're offering, I mean, for Sondheim and the Pine fans, this is something you want to add to your collection. I mean, everyone collects, so many of us collect window cards, and like, who wouldn't want, an alternate version of Into the Woods, especially designed by you? Okay. One of the next ones is, of course, The Little Foxes, starring Elizabeth Taylor. Now, this was something really special for you to sort of design.
Oh my God. Yes, I was obsessed with Elizabeth Taylor since she was in Cleopatra. So as a crazed 12-year-old, I was just, anything Elizabeth Taylor drove me wild. So when we read that she was coming to Broadway, I didn't ask who's handling it. I didn't ask anything. I just dove right in, did this really quick sketch based on the illustrator at the time, oh my God, I can't think, Gibson. Made her look like a Gibson girl, which I knew was the correct period, and that's probably the way she would be, costumed and hair design. And I called the rival agency and said, "Oh, I have this poster. Would you like to look at it?" And of course they didn't, because they didn't want the rival art director from another agency doing their poster. So it's another one that fell by the wayside. But I was excited that I at least had a chance to dive in.
Like I said, again, a stunning one of a kind. It's a gorgeous, you'll see it here. It's a gorgeous purple, her beautiful violet eyes, right? It's all done in purple. It's really, really stunning. And you really captured her Regina Gibbons. Because, the poster they used for Broadway were, of course, her eyes,
Sure.
which were beautiful. But I mean, I loved your version of this because it looked like the Gibson girl from the period of her as Regina. So it's another stunning piece of work. Okay.
Well, let me just tell you a quick story connected to that, which was the crowning achievement in my career. The Daily News did a comparison of eyes on posters on Broadway, and they compared her poster to my Death Trap poster, which are my eyes. So I was like, I was in heaven. So even though they didn't use my poster, I was at least I had my little bit of a connection to Elizabeth Taylor.
Well, they use your original concept, which of course were the death trap eyes.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't see it that way. My eyes are not Elizabeth Taylor's eyes, that's for sure.
Totally. Okay, Nick and Nora. I love this because the one they used was a picture of Barry Bostwick and Joanna Gleason and those silver letters. But what your poster does is it captures the story that everybody remembers about Nick and Nora. Explain your concept for this poster.
Well, I mean, the first thing you know about Nick and Nora, that they're glamorous and that they're detectives. So that's what I tried to do with the logo. And I tried to have the artwork be the logo so that the words Nick and Nora are made of the magnifying glass. And then just tucked in the corner looking up at it is Asta, who of course everyone loves. How do you not love Asta? And I did I had done an entire presentation for Arthur Lawrence and went down to his townhouse. I was very nervous because everyone was telling me that he's not going to be nice to you. And he couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more gracious, couldn't have been more complimentary. But he did not want that account at our agency. He wanted it at a different agency. And he told me so. And he said, I love the work, but I'm not approving anything. My boss, however, when I went back and gave him the news, said, oh, no, do another presentation. So I did the whole thing again. I did another 7 posters. Went down and repeated it again, a new presentation. He loved everything, was so nice and gracious. But he said, I'm not going to your agency. So that finally put the kibosh on Nick and Nora. But it was fun to work on. And I love Nick and Nora and I love the period. So it was fun to design things for it.
And you do meetings with Arthur Lawrence at his townhouse. So that's a great thing for, just to have, right?
Absolutely. That was, once I got over the initial fear factor, because I wasn't sure what his reception was going to be like, but he was absolutely wonderful.
You're like, oh, I'm going to go back again. I know what I'm walking into. Right? And then, of course, there is the alternate to your iconic Disney's The Lion King. I mean, talk about this alternate version. And then, of course, everybody knows you designed the iconic version of The Lion King, which is seen all around the world.
Right, which is pretty exciting for me, certainly. But yeah, Disney, we had a huge presentation. I was working at Gray Entertainment at the time. Huge presentation. We showed literally 100 concepts. Those were my 2 entries. And I think the taxicab yellow and the simplicity of the color scheme, the yellow, red, and black, is what drew everybody to it. And basically they stuck with it. They thought it was good and certainly has served them well, I think. It's a very flexible piece of art, which is great for advertising.
Yeah. Like I said, I love this other one because there's so much other detail in this one.
It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more of the story, talking about the past and future of Pride Rock and Simba, Mufasa, and it was getting much more detailed than the simple graphic of the lion head. But yeah, I love the textures in it, and that all comes from Julie Taymor's costume sketches, and so I had the best research to look at when designing those posters.
Gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. As Sondheim wrote, art isn't easy. So my question is, what was one of the biggest ideas you came up for window card, and what was the most challenging? One of the most challenging.
One of the quickest. I was asked very, very, very early on to design for Sunday in the Park with George. The second act wasn't even written yet. In fact, they gave me the first act, and I asked what the second act was, and they said, well, we don't know yet. It just takes place 100 years later. Okay. So I designed 3 posters. The one that the Schubert organization chose was the one used. Never changed. No other artist that I know of was ever asked to design anything else for it. So it was like a clear favorite, and that was really easy for me. I didn't have to change a thing, and they liked it the way it was. And who can ask for more than that?
Yeah, iconic. And what was one of the most challenging ones for you to design?
That was used.
Oh, well, yeah, think that was used. Okay. Yeah.
Let me think. Well, you know what? Since we talked about Follies a little bit, I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, and my illustration teacher was David Bird, who designed the original Follies poster. When I was asked by the Kennedy Center to design the revival poster, I was panic stricken because David's poster literally changed the face of theater advertising. It just did. It was revolutionary. How do you top revolutionary? So I called him up and talked to him, and he calmed me down and talked me off the ledge. And I just then went off and did my own thing, not worried that David was going to be tarnished in any way. But he's so cool. He's great about that stuff. So I went ahead and I did probably about 9 or 10 different designs, and that's the one that Michael Kaiser and Max Woodward from the Kennedy Center loved right away. So it changed very little. I did have to move things around a little to accommodate all that billing.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it pretty much stayed the way it was designed, which is great.
Because I had them both behind me. Here is yours.
Hey,
And then, of course, here is the original.
that's fine.
I mean, there's
Can't get better than that.
no, it doesn't get any better than that. Like I said, he was your mentor and your teacher. Can I ask you, what was one of the biggest lessons that you learned from him?
I think the big one obviously was technique and how to approach things to get certain effects. And the other was to not be afraid of, I used the glitter on all my assignments at class. And what teacher is going to look at illustrations with glitter on them and take it seriously? But David would say, oh, I love the glitter. Use more glitter and make it glamorous, make it as big as you can. And so he was very encouraging in terms of letting me fly in that entertainment void and not be inhibited by the fact that I liked things to look a certain way. And I think that was a really great lesson. And he's still the best. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I love that he called you the poster king of the great Rialto. I mean, to have him as your teacher, first of all, he's created the most iconic, this is the most iconic poster.
Like that in Godspell. I mean, really.
I call that the male Follies. I call that the male version. I have it somewhere out here in the other room. Like, oh,
it's true.
Right, that's the male version. When did you decide to become a show poster designer? Was there a defining moment?
Well, yeah. I think first of all, I've been very lucky in my career in that I've seemed to have been led in certain directions. But once again, David knew that my work lent itself well to movies. Everything I did for him was for a movie. So he thought theater was a natural thing for me to try and asked me to show my work at Blaine Thompson, which was the biggest ad agency for theater in New York. Well, anywhere. I mean, it was the agency. So I showed them my work, and they didn't have a staff position right then, which I was terribly upset about. But they gave me 2 freelance assignments, one for Angela Lansbury in Gypsy and one for the Andrews Sisters in Over Here. So once I finished those 2, and those posters were not used, but still I got to work on them. And after that all happened, which was months and months later, they said, we have a staff opening, we'd like you to work here. And that's how it started.
And now look where you are now.
I know. 500 shows later.
Wow. I think, like David has said, he said, I think that Fraver has designed more show posters than any other illustrator.
Well, I think, and mainly I think it's because I always worked at the ad agencies. So we had product coming in and out and in and out and in and out at great speed. So yes, I have worked on many, many, many shows, not, some of which the work was never seen by the public. But yes, I've worked on a lot, and a lot of major shows. I mean, fantastic stuff to be able to work on.
So tell me how proud and rewarding you feel about this new venture with Broadway is Alive and selling these beautiful prints of these gorgeous posters that are benefiting Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS?
Well, I mean, once again, to reiterate, to be able to do anything for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS is an honor for me. To be able to do it this way with work that people may be interested in seeing, it makes it even nicer. But yeah, it's kind of a very heady thing that people actually are interested in seeing work that wasn't used and, unpublished posters for theater, which is terrific. God
Good.
knows I have enough of them.
Totally. Well, once again, Fraver has partnered with Gelato, and they have created a special online charity store called Broadway is Alive, and they are offering 16 previously unseen, rejected, or alternate poster designs by Fraver for some of Broadway's biggest shows and American theater's most famous shows, with all of the proceeds benefiting Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Just go to BroadwayIsAlive.com. Fraver, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Always great speaking with you, Richie. You're the best.
And like I said, your book is behind me here too. This is a fabulous book, which I want to give a big shout out before we go.
Thank you.
Called Fraver by Design, 5 Decades of Theater Poster Art from Broadway, Off-Broadway, and Beyond. Whenever I'm feeling blue, I just open up this book. It's filled with all of his artwork. I mean, it's amazing. There's so many wonderful things in this book. Rejected ones, things he designed, things he didn't design. I mean, it's a fabulous, fabulous book. It's available at Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. Fraver, stay well, my friend, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Richie. You too. It's a pleasure.
Take care, everyone.